Guys, hello. Welcome to episode 13 of the Football Truth podcast. I'm honored and a great pleasure of mine to be with Benik Afobe. He's welcomed me into his house here in Dubai. And we're going to be talking about all things football performance and his journey and all the things that he's learned from inside of some of the biggest clubs in the world. If you don't know, Benik played for Arsenal. He played for Wolverhampton Wanderers, Bournemouth, Stoke City, Millwall. He's been on loan at a other number of clubs, and now he's playing in Dubai. He's living here, and it sounds like he loves it.
Yes.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah, I love it.
And he also has national team appearances for DR Congo. So a wealth of experience, and I'm sure there's going to be some exciting things to talk about. Now, before we get into it, let's first start off. What's the best game you've ever played?
Oh, best game I've ever played?
Yeah.
I'd say there's two that stand out for me. MK Dons against Man United. We won 4-0. Man United were obviously a Premier League team at the time, and we were a League One team. So obviously in the cup, they're expecting to roll over us, but we ended up winning 4-0 and I scored 2 goals live on telly. And after having a few injuries for a couple of years, it was good to put my name back out there.
Yes,
And
that's
to
right.
score 2 goals against Man United was unbelievable. And the second one I'd probably say is for Bournemouth against Norwich in the Premier League. I scored my first Premier League goal and we won 2-0. But just the feeling of scoring in the Premier League, you know, watching Match of the Day all your life as a kid, hoping one day that Gary Lineker or Alan Shearer will talk about your performance, and I got a little highlight reel, so that was great for me. That's the two that stick out in my head for sure.
Because that kind of emotional context, like when you think back and you look at, you know, just that favorite thing, or just when you think back to that positivity of the best everything I've ever done, it's almost priceless.
100%. You know, from when you're a child, you know. You want to be a professional footballer, you want to be playing on the big stages, and to go out and play against Man United, beat them, they had a strong team at the time, or even when you play in the Premier League, seeing players that you've grown up watching and now you're on the same pitch as them, world-class players, you know, playing against the likes of Man City, even Arsenal, going back there after many years of leaving. It's an unbelievable feeling, you know, and I think as you get older, with the pressures of things and life in general, injuries, just growing up, you know, you kind of forget about all of the good things. So now I'm a bit old. I'm 30 now. I look back and I just think, you know, I've lived my dream. You know, it's maybe I could have done better. Maybe some people say that I'm lucky to be where I am, but I'm just happy that I've fulfilled everything that I've always wanted to do, and it was to play and score goals in the Premier League.
Yeah, fascinating. There's only a handful of people in the world that could say that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, congrats.
No, thank you. No shit.
Now, let's kind of like step back a second and talk. You know, you grew up in South London or North London. Excuse me. So, North London, born and raised. Walk us through kind of your upbringing. What kind of influences did you have culturally? Like any like other sports growing up?
So it all started back in 1998. I was 5.5 years of age, and the World Cup was on. I didn't really have any interest in football before that, but my dad was watching the World Cup, as you do. England were playing Argentina, and Michael Owen went on that run against Argentina. 18-year-old boy scored, and I remember my dad and his friends watching the game, and he was just buzzing. Obviously, he wanted England to win. And I just thought to myself, you know what? I want to give my dad the same feeling. And then it was from then. I literally, the next day, I was like, Dad, I want to play football. I want to join a team. And it all happened so quickly. 5.5 months later, I'm having a trial at Arsenal. So it was crazy. It all happened so quickly. But I said I grew up in North London, but originally I'm from East London. You know, when I was a little kid, didn't come from much money. Mum and dad were working class. I had an older sister, 3 years older than me. And we just grew up like any normal average family in East London, but I loved football. You know, any time, any little space, if I had a little ball, I'd be playing football. You know, when you're younger, back in them days as well, you could play out for hours. You know, no phones or anything. My mum just knew that he's in the park playing football. and just loved playing football, man. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
when I speak to kids now, or when I do little talks with my old school, for example, or when I just speak to people when they ask me for advice, the one advice that I always give is to remember why you started, or don't lose the feeling of enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get older, as I said before, the pressures of things, and you start to think, I had a bad game, or I missed this chance, I haven't scored for 4 games, 5 games. But when you're younger, you don't think of all them stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to keep that in my daily training sessions and daily weekly matches, the enjoyment.
Yeah, that's a big point, guys. Maintaining that love,
Mm-hmm.
which is, you know, it's intangible, but this is something that can keep you so focused.
100%.
Where so many players, maybe because of a bad coach or bad injury or bad tactics,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, they lose that love, that passion, and their career usually goes downhill from there.
Yeah, 100%. It even happened to me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be lying if I say it didn't happen to me. There was a couple of years, 3-4 years of football when I wasn't really enjoying it. Wasn't playing at my best of my capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Blaming everyone else.
Of course.
You know, it's the norm. Injuries, of course. Sometimes you can be unlucky, but then you just start playing within yourself. And now I'm a bit older. I know I'm only playing out here in Hatta in Dubai, and it's not top level football anymore. But that enjoyment, once you have that enjoyment, you could be playing in the park. It doesn't matter what level you're playing at. Once you feel confident and you're playing free,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big relief, and you can just start enjoying it again. And you start doing things that you don't even work on. You know, everyone talks about always practice, but then some things just start coming off the cuff again.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
how I feel at the moment. So it's good to have that love for football back.
Yeah, that love really fuels that creativity,
Yeah,
and like allows you to tap into some of that intuition and that gut feeling.
exactly.
And, you know, because playing like a robot and just trying to like memorize drills and memorize certain moves on the biggest stage, as I'm sure like you can say, it doesn't translate.
It doesn't, not at all. And
Yeah.
it's only taken me all these years to realize
How to
that.
figure
But,
it out.
yeah, and sometimes I feel like it's a bit controversial maybe, but I feel like managers and coaches can overcoach players.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to say any names, but I see a lot of top players, but they were better when they were younger, or when they first broke through.
Yeah, they first broke through.
When they first broke through, they're doing things off the cuff, or they're playing their natural game, and
Mhm.
that's why they were so special. But then they start to think, oh, maybe this guy's doing that, or that girl's doing that, I need to start doing like that, and you start losing yourself. So I feel like, yes, you have to listen to your coaches, yes, you can still learn, you can always improve, but don't lose who you are and what made you special, what made you get scouted, or what made you become why the coach liked you in the first place. So you've got to get the balance right, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. I was reading an article about Kovacic,
Yeah.
now in Chelsea,
Yeah.
back when he came through Dynamo Zagreb.
In Croatia, yeah.
And Zagreb, supposedly, they say that they have one of the best academies in the world, but Kovacic actually joined their academy late and came from another team,
Okay.
and he was actually a different player than the ones they were making.
Mm.
And yet, of course, Zagreb claims to make
Yeah.
to make him. But it goes to what you're saying. Like sometimes there's this unquantifiable, intangible talent
Mm.
that can get coached out of players,
Exactly.
and they lose that fire.
100%.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
honestly think that, nowadays, you know, when I first got in touch with you and the stuff that you were posting and researching,
Mm.
I thought it was brilliant, because you talk about having that intuition and not being robots, and whether that's in the gym, whether that's on the pitch, even just as a human being, you can't all be the same. Everyone's different. Everyone has their own qualities, and I feel like now I've got a bit older, my advice also would be to people is work on your strengths
Mm.
as much as you work on your weaknesses. But if you have a strength that someone else hasn't got, use it to your advantage and tap into that, because we're all different and everyone has their own talents.
No doubt. I mean, as you know, like Messi is not the best right-footed player
Mhm.
in the world,
Exactly.
but he's pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, his left foot is pretty good.
he's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, moving forward, can you share with the guys what is it like to come through an academy like Arsenal, and then the challenges that you faced trying to break into the first team?
Yeah, it was. There's pros and cons to it.
Always.
You know, I would say that the pros are that you know, you have a good setup. You learn to play football the right way. For me, I believe it's the right way. You know, Arsene Wenger was incredible for years. He was amazing, and you get to see the world-class players. You get to learn from world-class players from early. However, when you leave Arsenal or a team as big as Arsenal, it can be a downward spiral in the sense that you go on loan to these lower league teams, and the food's not as nice, the training pitches are not as nice, the gym's not as nice. Exactly, the change rooms are not the same. You're not playing with these world-class players. They play different football. It might not be what you're used to because Arsenal play a certain way of football. So if you're not strong or if you're not very adaptable, that can be difficult because you're not used to the Arsenal life. But that could be, like I said, that could be the negative part of it because it's not the same. And if you've been there, for example, with my case, I was there from 6 till 21. You know, so for 15 years, all through the way my teenage years, that was all I knew. So you have to be quick to be able to adapt for sure, to carry on or to go back up again in the leagues. And thankfully for me, that was the case. I went down just to go back up to the Premier League again.
And you would say it's almost like a bubble that they keep you inside of this Arsenal Academy. And like you said, you're not exposed to other harsher conditions, we'll say, different kind of tactics and things like that. And some players do well in that, kind of bubble, and some, I guess someone like Phil Foden, for example, never really do it out on loan, but he's been, very carefully nurtured by the club. Whereas other players, they've been in that bubble, and then the first time they step out,
100%.
They just lose.
100%. I played with so many players that were arguably probably the top 10 in Europe, under 18 level, for example. And I feel like the likes of Phil Foden, one of my good friends, Jack Wilshere, going through the academy and playing for Arsenal's first team week in, week out, there's only one or two that are going to do it. So if you're honest, at the time you don't think that, but there's only going to be a few players that come through the academy that's going to go on to play for the first team at these big clubs. You either have to be exceptionally good, or also maybe, for example, the right back was injured and then you stepped in and then you took your chance, So sometimes it also is a bit of luck, but you've got to grab your opportunity and grasp it with both hands. But I don't feel like I was one of them players where if I didn't make it through the first team, I was not going to give up. My goal was always to be back in the Premier League. So I just also do think it's what kind of character you are, and how do you bounce back from not being at the same club with all these world-class players? How are you going to stand out when you end up going to these lower leagues to show that this is not your level? And for a young player who hasn't been through all of them sort of things, it can be hard. But you also have to be strong. You also have to have good people around you. So it's a bit of both, really.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage.
Yes.
To become a man, and I think it speaks to the persistence that you have to go down and then make it back up. Your love and faith in the game brings you along that journey. Whereas if you don't have what you're talking about, then you can falter and you just kind of give up in a way.
100%. Yeah, it's difficult. Mental strength is huge. It is huge. Whether that's on the pitch with confidence or with negative situations that happen to a player.
Off the field.
Off the field, you have to. I was watching one of your videos on Instagram when you was talking about how people don't really care. They just want performances, and it's the truth. It's the harsh reality. For example, myself, we lost a child, and as hard and as how tough it was, the harsh reality is if you're not performing, obviously people are grieving for you, they feel sorry for you, but the manager or the team need results, so you have to sort of put that aside when you're on the pitch and do well, and that's a big thing to put aside, but you still have to when you're on the pitch. Injuries, they don't care if you've been out for a year or two. When you go back on the pitch, you need to perform. It was funny because I was thinking this is the harsh reality, but it's the truth. It is the truth. So you have to remember you're only relevant when you're doing well. So
Yeah.
you've got to try to do well more times than not.
And as a striker, that means scoring goals.
100%, yeah. You've got to be scoring or assisting, and
doing
it
something.
doesn't matter. I know sometimes, like my family, they always say, the ones that are not actually in the football, they say, oh, as long as, even fans, you meet some fans sometimes, and they say, as long as you're working hard and putting 100% in, then the fans won't be on your back. Okay, it's true, but it gets to a point where they want results.
Yeah,
They want you to
even
be
the fans
scoring.
eventually.
Exactly. Yeah, they do want you to work hard. They do want you to show passion for the club or for the team that you're in. But you also see lazy players or players that don't interact with the fans, who don't run around. But if they're scoring goals, always forgive them.
Yeah, he's a king.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
King for the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. You just got to keep doing it all over again and again until the season's finished.
No doubt.
That's
No,
harsh, really.
and on that note, are there some certain things or certain experiences that you've seen in the locker room at different clubs where a certain player, something in his character or in his training or his lifestyle held him back from actually either becoming a starter or, getting that big transfer to the bigger team?
Yes, I think one of the main things that I see in all change rooms is players that don't play and they use excuses.
Yeah.
I think that's the big one, when it's like, oh, this guy's doing this, or this coach doesn't do that. And it's, sometimes you have to look internally, instead of just looking at this guy's not doing well, but what can you do that will catch the manager's eye? Sometimes, football, of course, like in any sport, in any job, there's also politics and things like that. But I feel like if you leave no stones unturned and give yourself the best opportunity, then you can go home with peace, knowing that I've done everything that I could to play. And then sometimes, so be it, you're not going to play. But if you keep doing the right things more times than not, whether it's this club or another club, you will get your chance and you'll be ready to take your opportunity. But I think the biggest one I'd say is definitely excuses. A lot of players use excuses, but really and truly they're not doing everything they can to actually be a starter, for example.
Yeah, they're kind of blaming things outside their control
Exactly.
to not make changes on things in their control.
100% that.
I've seen that so often.
All the time. And distractions, I think. If you get into, that's the big one. Once or twice you might do. Like I won't lie. When I was younger, I remember I went out when I was 18, 19. I went out like a day before a game, and I think I scored 2. I remember it actually. It was for Huddersfield, and I thought to myself, "Oh, it's not so bad," But like, if you keep doing that, it's going to catch up on you. But that was just a one-off. But I feel like distractions, going out, drinking, partying, all that stuff is a big no-no when you're trying to be focused, because it'll just set you back eventually. It will set you back, and the concentration, I think, goes in line with confidence. When you're fully focused and have that concentration, it will help you in your career to have that discipline. Because when things get tough, if you still have that focus and that drive and try to have that self-belief, eventually you'll come back out on top.
Yeah, the focus is maintained.
It is everything.
There's no drop in quality
No.
because once that problem comes, you're already fixing it before you even hesitate.
100%. You might not have the answers at the time, but you just look at all the top players. Holland now, for example, he's doing great. He's just broke the Premier League goal scoring record. But all these players, they're different. Whether that's Holland, Ronaldo, Messi, because Messi looks like he doesn't work hard, or he comes across as more laid back than Ronaldo. But don't be fooled by that, because them guys they're 100% on it. To be on it for 15 years plus. Every single season, no injuries, this amount of goals, it's all because of focus. Yes, they have the talent, but also there's another thing that might be controversial, but I don't think that the best players, so I'm talking about the top 10 and the top 50, there's not much difference between them, but it's just little things like preparing properly, having focus, and keep doing the right things even when things are not going well. I think that's the only differences.
Consistency.
The consistency, because there's not that much difference. If Real Madrid, for example, they're playing against Man City, they can go either way. The difference isn't that much, but they keep doing the right things over and over again, and then that little 2, 3, 4, 5% is the difference. And I just think it's majority of it is focus and concentration.
Yeah, because usually the best players in the world or in different leagues oftentimes don't win like the best goal of the year.
Exactly.
So it shows those guys have the ability
Exactly
to
that.
execute
Exactly.
at that level,
Yeah.
but they can't maintain it.
Every week.
Yeah.
You know, that's the biggest difference. You know, like even for example, Man City and Arsenal now.
Yeah.
You know, I think Arsenal might fall a bit short because of lacking of experience, but Man City over and over again they just do the same things. They don't crumble under pressure. You know, even top players do come under pressure,
Of course.
and it's just about how do you handle it. And I think Pep Guardiola and his team are handling it brilliantly. And if they do win the treble, then it pains me to say it as an Arsenal fan, but
Yeah, me too.
they did. But they did. But then you just got to think they do deserve it. You know, just to be doing the same things over and over again brilliantly. It's a skill in its own.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not just about the talent.
It's being a craftsman
Exactly.
and becoming a master of your craft.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way to do it.
There's no other way.
Yeah. So now talk to us about kind of like your injury history, because like earlier off camera,
Yeah.
you were mentioning like a LCL
Yeah.
knee injury. Talk to us about your experiences at different clubs and like handling injuries and how that's all going for you.
Yeah. So I've had 2 ACLs before. This one was in 2000 and been a while now.
Yeah.
2013. So 10 years ago. The left knee, and then I've done my right knee about 4 years ago now. But yeah, I've had 2 ACLs and 2 LCLs. But recently, what I was talking to you off camera was that in November last year, I done my LCL.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a piece of ligament that was a bit of wear and tear, but eventually I had a bit of swelling in the back of my knee. I couldn't get it down, and I tried so many things, and it was going. I think at the time that's when I first started to see some of your posts about the rehabs that we do at football, and it's a bit controversial. And as an active footballer, you know, it's hard. I feel weird. It's a bit strange for me to be so controversial, but I do believe that a lot of the stuff that us footballers do in the gym doesn't benefit us. You know, because of the way our bodies are made, what we've been doing in our teenage years, for example. And also just going back to old players back in the day, you know, they used to play on worse pitches than us, you know, and play more games. They was talking about how there wasn't a rotation where, okay, you play on Saturday, you play on Tuesday. They just went at it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like sometimes we do, I wouldn't say too much, I just think we do some of the wrong exercises for our bodies, and then you end up becoming robotic and mechanical, and then you start having to rely on it. And that's not a good feeling as a footballer, knowing that you could break down at any minute, even though you spend 4 or 5 times a day in the gym. You know, so it's just strange, because sometimes the less I feel like now, the less I do in the gym, the better I feel, which is strange because it completely goes against what we get taught. But I'm learning about my body, and I'm also reading. I love to read your stuff. I like to look at your stuff and other people's stuff, and I just feel like you can still do stuff in the gym, but just make sure that what you're doing is right for your body. Because another point I was going to say is that sometimes the fitness coaches give us all the same program, but someone's 6 foot, the other guy's 5'6", another guy's stocky, another guy's skinny, and everybody's body is different. So how can we all be doing the same exercises when we need to be working on different things to help ourselves? So it's a bit controversial, but I do believe that even professional fitness coaches and sports coaches haven't got all the jewels for a certain person, for example.
Well, because especially if one player has a history of left hamstring tears, you got to think about that. You can't just give them the same exercises as the guy who's never been injured.
100%.
You know,
and then even when you do have the same injury, someone might react different to another thing. So everyone's different, and you know, I know you've studied it and you're brilliant at what you do, so you could say more than me. But what do you think about that? If you're going to be honest.
I just see a lot of players' careers be ruined by what I'll call mainstream strength and conditioning. Because a lot of the exercises, the biomechanics, the understanding of tissue quality and how the brain activates muscles in movement unconsciously. What happens optimally in the best athletes is the exact opposite of what happens in the gym. And my big message is that the best players that you see in the world, they succeed despite what happens in the gym.
100%.
Not because. And so everyone always talks to me about, oh, Ronaldo. But I mean, you can go on YouTube and search up a Ronaldo gym workout, and he's doing some lunges and push-ups and a few machines. And I ask you, go do that for 5 years, and then let me know if you're Ronaldo.
100%.
You won't be anywhere close.
100%.
You'll actually probably be
Further back than you was before.
Like if you just went and played football every day, and
you
then,
might be closer to Ronaldo.
Yeah, be closer.
Yeah.
And like go play tennis and basketball and like cross train like once a week and just explore your body and expand what you think is possible.
Yeah.
And you might discover some new things about yourself. You know.
It's an interesting fact that you just said there, because I know some people that have played with Ronaldo, and they actually say that, for example, when he was at Man United, you know, you see all these pictures of him on Instagram with these weights. He doesn't actually do any of that. You know, he works more on body weight things. You know, core maybe, and more about activating his body and his muscles and his feet and his hamstrings more than lifting big weights. You know, and that's a big myth where people think that oh, Ronaldo's where he is because he works hard. Yes, he does work hard, but so does Messi.
Yeah, everyone
and
works
it's completely different. And there's another big thing is I feel like when people say if you work hard enough, you can be a footballer. For sure, there's people that have worked 10 times harder. Now, I'll just use me for example, 10 times harder than me. But sometimes I feel like in any sport, like in any field, you've either got it or you haven't. You know, obviously you can work hard to improve, and that is definitely the case because we're always learning, we're always improving. But I feel like you sometimes either have it or you haven't. You know, like I love basketball, and you see some people that are very good ball handlers, but if you're not 6'10", I'm not sure if you're going to be in the NBA.
Good luck, mate.
Exactly. So it's also genetic, and it's also a bit of luck, hard work, but it's all these little 5-10% that add up to make the 100% professional that you aspire to be. It's not just about working hard and having the focus. It's all these little things that you have to have or do.
Yeah, there was a great video with Paul Merson. Paul Merson, where he was comparing kind of the growth and development of, let's say, like a doctor or a lawyer versus like a footballer.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to go to school and you do all the tests, all the exams, and you study and you pass exams, anybody can do that if they work hard.
100%.
It doesn't require genius. It just requires hard work and determination.
Yeah, and memory. Yeah.
And memory, of course. But being a footballer requires something intangible.
100%.
That's the talent aspect that we always talk about.
Yeah, I think that's where that was one of the first times. I think I saw your Instagram. I think you reposted the Paul Merson little snippet, and I was reading the comments at that time, and people were like, "Oh, Paul Merson deluded," or he doesn't understand that you have to study for 10 years. But I don't think they understand it. He's not disrespecting the doctors or the nurses or the surgeons. It's not so much that. It's just more about the football. It is so hard. It is so hard, and I'm not saying it because I'm a footballer. I'm just saying it in general because it's so cutthroat, and you have to. It's more than just kicking the ball and scoring goals. It's so much more that people don't understand. And when you think about it, you went to school, right? And let's say there was 100 boys. There's probably 90% of them boys, or 90 boys out of 100 would probably want to be footballers. But how many actually make it? Yeah. You know, so it is so hard just for the fact that if you haven't got the root talent, you know, you're not going to be the finished article at any age that you start playing. But if you haven't got that, you know, the balance, the power, the speed, the height, the memory, muscle memory of knowing what to do, it's going to be difficult. It doesn't matter how hard you work.
Well, thousands of people can run like a marathon, right? Yeah. But there's only so many people that can put the ball in the top corner in the Premier League. Yeah. At those speeds that you have to do. Like, it's a whole different.
I was looking at actually. I love Thierry Henry, and I know you do as well. And he actually he does a lot of podcasts now and videos, and he was doing one when I just watched the snippet, and he said about sometimes, for example, you can be a centre half, you're a centre half, and pressure. You know, someone's closing you down from both sides, and the ball's there, and then you have a right winger, for example, and he's running into the space, and the centre back literally gets the ball at his feet, puts his head down, and he'll zing it 40, 50 yards over the other left back's head into the path of the right winger, right when he's running at full speed, right on his toes, and the fans will not think, oh, that's great. However, someone might be in a lower league, for example, and just get the ball from edge of the box and just hit it, and the ball could go anywhere, go to Rose or it can go top corner, but then if they score, they're like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. But they don't realise that pass at speed under pressure to pull it right on the toes of the other right back over the left back's head, like quarterback role, is so difficult to do, and centre backs do that 10 to 15 times a game. They have to do it, but fans don't realise that is so hard. Even with my teammates, sometimes when we're warming up, you see, I think there's a video of Dani Alves or someone with Messi doing them passes. Like if literally you're 50 yards away, the ball comes into you, you control it, you don't really know where it is. Your peripheral vision is telling you where the player is, but you just like on the half volley, zinging it straight to him, and he doesn't move, and then he does it straight back to you, and you do it to him. But to be able to do that like that, you ask any football fan to go and do that, it's near enough impossible. It is near enough impossible. But majority of footballers can do that. Even League Two players can do that. Even players in the lower league. So even obviously my examples are for world class players, but even lower league players where people think, oh, he's rubbish, or he will never play in the Premier League. But you go and try and do what people in Division 3 or League 2 are doing. It's difficult. It is difficult. So yeah, I think sometimes football fans don't realise that. I'm not giving my career or my job a lot of credit, like too much, but it is difficult to do on a daily basis.
Yeah, it just kind of speaks to this contrast between hard work and talent.
Exactly.
Like, yes, you can grind, but if it's mindless, if you don't actually, see the goalpost, and understand that there's something, special required, and that special thing doesn't have to be like innate, but it has to be something that you create out of your creativity.
That creativity is big. It is.
And so let's talk about the whole world of S&C, nutritionists, supplements, physios. I know you have your opinions on this, and I think before we kind of like covered this a little bit. But I want to hear this. Like I think before, like you mentioned, like just for example, feeling better off of vitamins and supplements and like meal prepping and those kind of things.
So there was a stage when I started taking protein shakes a lot, recovery shakes or pre-workout shakes and things like that. And this is me talking from my own experience, so this is not for every footballer, and every person is different. But for me personally, a lot of that didn't work for me. I just thought to myself, I was putting on weight, for example. You're giving me the same shake as someone who is completely different body shape to me. They can have 20 protein shakes, they're not going to put on weight, and then there's me just putting on weight, and then I'm not hungry and I want to eat and things like that. So I just feel like I always think about when I first started playing football professionally, that is, which was about 12 to 13 years ago. And because this stuff is recent, these shakes and all these meal preps and things like that, it's been maybe more the last 5-6 years. But before that, I was doing alright for myself, and I didn't have any of that stuff. And I feel like now I've come off it again, I feel as good as I did when I was 21, 22. So the correlation is that I feel like there's too much being pushed into these footballers, and I don't really feel like it made any benefits to me. And that's just through my own experience. I feel like in football terms, because the game is more modern in the sense of like with the 4K games, all of this stuff, technology, with all this stuff with the monitors, the GPS and things like that, I feel like they feel like they have to add new things all the time, nutrition and things like that. But if I'm honest, sometimes I've had really bad meal and still played one of my better games, so I don't, maybe, and someone might say in the long run, it might have it's not beneficial to eat this or that, and things like that. And I do understand that, I'm quite healthy anyway, but I just feel like it shouldn't be the reason why someone can blame their performance or you shouldn't need to have this shape to be able to do that, you know. And I just feel like it's pushed in our faces so much, and you don't even know what you're drinking or what you're taking, but because this S&C coach has told you that, you just take it, but it might not be good for your body. You don't even know if you're intolerant to something.
Yeah.
You know, it's not,
Thinking.
we don't really know what we're taking. We just take the same things as someone who's right next to you, and he's got a completely different body shape to you.
Yeah, like where is the powder from?
Exactly.
What kind of animal? How is the powder processed?
100%.
Is it dried, roasted,
Yeah.
cold free? Like flash frozen? Like all these things.
If I'm honest, I think it's all nonsense. if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and as you know, I preach real food.
Yeah.
Drop all that garbage.
Exactly.
Invest in yourself.
Exactly.
Invest in knowledge and not,
That's how it's been
Band-Aids.
since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Forget about football. What did people used to have protein shakes back in the day?
Oh, that's good.
I just feel like if you eat healthy, that should be more than enough, to be honest.
Yeah.
Eating the right foods, then you can't go wrong. Since the beginning of time, you can't go wrong with eating the right food.
Yeah.
All these shakes and stuff that's already processed. It's just, you might as well eat McDonald's.
Yeah, same thing almost at that point. Yeah, this like dried, like processed whey protein.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I'm always making fun of is in the warm-ups of gym sessions and warm-ups of matches and trainings, these glute activation warm-up with the bands around the ankles.
Yeah.
Like almost every club in the world does these.
Yeah.
And I, for the longest time, just thought these were so ridiculous. And until like years ago, when I first dived into my work, and I found this contrast between, okay, do my glutes actually work unconsciously, like I will say naturally on the field, or do I have to force them to activate with certain exercises in the gym?
100%. And I think what you said the first time round, naturally for sure. Even when we do leg strength and stuff, isn't running around enough leg strength?
Well, and it's your sport.
It's your sport. That's what I mean. So like when I feel like, as you said with the glute bands, for example, that unnatural gym sessions. Sure, I haven't studied as much as you, and I don't know 100% if I'm correct what I'm saying. But like, I feel like when you do them unnatural exercises, when you go back out on the pitch, you're not running around with a glute band. So why would you not try and activate it naturally off surface with natural body weight stuff? Like I just feel like the gym is not good for footballers. I don't think. People you're in different techniques. You're in the wrong position. And then you go out on the pitch and you're in an uncomfortable or unnatural position, but your body's not been used to balancing in the natural position because you always have this machine next to you. It's not the same. It's not the same at all.
There's just too many assumptions.
100%.
In the gym, they kind of cancel out factors to try to isolate, like muscle mass or hypertrophy or numbers on the barbell.
Yeah.
And for me, always it's the funniest thing has been. Guys in the gym that can lift insane amounts of weight in like a Nordic curl, in like a barbell hip thrust, back squat, deadlift, whatever. But on the field, I ask them a simple question: have you ever felt your glutes when you run? And they go,
It's true.
And that is for me is one of the biggest. It's just a cornerstone of: are you an athlete or are you not an athlete?
Yeah.
If you never felt your glutes when you run, you're not an athlete.
No.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Everything you said, like that's why I like speaking to you, because I'm always learning, but I'm also on the same page as you, and it does go against what a lot of S&C or fitness coaches or even players believe. But I just think you can't beat natural work. You can't. And
well, there's a reason why Real Madrid sends scouts to the favelas and they sign a Brazilian kid for 70 million.
And he hasn't done any gym work before in his life. He doesn't even know what a gym looks like.
They don't have a gym in the. They don't have a gym.
No, for sure. I've played with so many good players who are actually not in the gym. And I don't want to say any names, but I'm talking world-class players that it looks like they're in the gym, but they go in there and they just play around because they're not really, like where you might have a group gym session, but they're the one that's doing the least. And it's actually quite funny because most of the best players I've ever played with or trained with, I'm talking at Arsenal, I'm talking world-class players. I don't want to be exposing any names, but they just have a laugh in the gym. They don't really take it as serious, but not because they're not focused or not because they want to work hard, because they just know that it makes them. I feel like every time I do gym, let's say you gave me a 6-week program to do three times a week, a leg session, upper body, I always feel more sluggish. I feel slower. I feel heavy. I feel like I can't turn as quick when I'm back on the pitch. And then on the flip side of that, when I do less in the gym, I feel sharp, which is quite strange. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't do quick feet work or with the fascials of the feet, and I'm not saying don't do that sort of stuff. I'm just talking about literally, as you said, with the barbells and trying to explode. And I just think to myself, when you first got scouted or when you first broke into the first team, was you doing this stuff? When you was going past players, when you was agile, you wasn't doing any of that stuff. None of that stuff.
Was Jude Bellingham doing that at Birmingham?
No.
And then he's 17 years old, right? Like
at the time,
goes to the first team. How many veteran players did he put on the bench?
Yeah.
And those guys have been in the gym for 10 years.
Exactly.
So then, why aren't they 10 years better than him?
It doesn't add up.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up.
It never does.
It never does. And like I said, what we talk about, some may say it's controversial, but
of course,
I don't think it's controversial at all. And I stand by what I think or what I say for sure, because there's this idea that footballers have to do this and do that, and even footballers themselves, they want to improve. The only reason why a footballer would be in the gym doing these exercises off S&C coach is because they want to get better.
Yeah.
But so that it's coming from a good place.
Yeah. Exactly.
However, I'm not sure if it really does help, because I also feel like a lot of the players that are in the gym the most are always the ones that get injured the most, which is quite strange.
And that leads me to my next question.
Really?
This was me. I was the guy always in the gym, but I was one injured.
Yeah.
And there was a 5'4" Hispanic player who weighed 140 pounds, was the best player on the team, and he's getting signed pro to the MLS.
But he wasn't in the gym as much.
No, he was the least favorite player of the gym coach.
Ah, okay.
He hated him.
Yeah.
But because his existence disproved his whole background and education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then even like I had a player at Leeds United, couldn't get fit for 2 years in the gym for 2 years. The minute he stopped the gym, he was able to actually get into first team training, and then he became a starter, and then got an extension to his contract. Like that's life-changing results.
It's strange. Even like I said with myself, I had this little 2-month injury. I was in the gym every day, and don't get me wrong, it did help me. It did strengthen up my quads and all around it, my hamstrings and stuff. But since I've been out here for 4 months, I've done a handful of gym sessions in 4 months, and I feel fresh. No problems, no swelling. It's strange. Like the way God made our bodies is amazing. We're natural healers. You can cut yourself here and not do anything, and then before you know it, it will heal.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you do the right stuff, not too much, less is more. I feel
always
like less is more, or doing the stuff that you need to do. And I feel like a lot of players have these gym programs, 6 weeks, 8-week programs. They're the ones that are always injured. They're the ones who are injured,
and the ones not starting either.
Yeah. I'm living proof. One of my best friends, Jack Wilshere. Everyone says, "Oh, why is Jack always injured? He must not be living right, or he's drinking, or he's going out." He didn't do any of that. Yes, don't get me wrong, he did it in his younger days, but not more than the average footballer. He did it just the same amount as every footballer, but he was in the gym all the time. And it comes to a point where I feel like he was doing too much. He would say probably he was doing too much, but he was in the gym. He hired someone from Ireland to come over twice a week. He brought his own personal S&C coach to Arsenal's training ground because he went and did his research. He was the most professional player. I'm not saying it because he's one of my best friends that I've ever played with, but he was the one that was always injured. So you start maybe thinking, like, what are you actually doing in the gym to keep having these injuries? And then he went out to Denmark, and I know he was only there for 6 months, but he was completely fine. When he retired, he hasn't retired because of injuries. He could have carried on playing, but he just wanted to go down a different path now, and he's always wanted to be a coach and manager, so he'll be a top manager for sure one day. But when he started to do less just before his career finished, he was actually fully fit. So all them years you might start thinking, was I doing too much? I just feel like you have to train your body to not have to rely on these exercises. When your body starts relying on, I've got to do this exercise before game, I've got to do that, I've got to go on the leg extension, you're going to need it all the time. And then when you land awkwardly on the pitch, because it's not the same as the robotic mechanical stuff that you've been doing, that's when you get injured, because you've been banging out the gym 3-4 times a week, and now you're on a surface where it's poor. It's, you know,
and you aren't ready for the unknown,
exactly,
for the unpredictable,
exactly,
and that is football. It's a game. There's 11 players each side of the ball, 2 goals, and then chaos inside those lines.
It goes back to what you said about favelas. These Brazilian players have been playing on sand, they've been playing, so they've probably done more leg or gym work, or better gym work than us, because they've been playing on uneven fields, sand. So their ankles, they've been rolling their ankles left, right, and centre. But so when they come to Europe and they got a nice pitch, it's like, oh,
they're like,
this is perfect.
they're like, thank God.
Thank God I've done my training for the last 20 years on them rubbish favela pitches.
Molded.
They're molded, exactly. That's what it is. It's molded, getting molded, and I've seen your stuff about that as well with the feet and natural lights. I think also maybe the sun has helped me, which is natural.
I mean, like, you're in Dubai now, and a much lower latitude than England. And of course, like with your skin tone, you need a lot more sunlight 100%. To create enough vitamin D.
100%.
And if you don't get it, it then leads to worse performance in your tendons, and just less of it, and your bones, of course, also, and all the downstream effects of vitamin D, of course. So there's definitely some big effects there.
But I definitely think that. Honestly, I genuinely believe coming out here will potentially, touch wood, prolong my career. Because just because of, as you said, with when you're fresh, when you feel peace, with the sun, and obviously we're not playing Saturday, Tuesday as well. So I feel like all these little factors will help me play for as long as I can, which is hopefully another 6-7 years.
And I'll not be surprised if we see more and more players from England coming to Dubai for the better weather. Why not?
It's a nice place to live. It's beautiful, you know, whether you're single or if you've got a partner. There's so many things to do here. The football out here is growing as well. You know, where I play now, there's some really good players, and it's a good experience for sure. It's something that I would definitely recommend for players to come and play out here, because the fans here are passionate as well. You know, I played in Turkey for a bit at Trabzonspor, which is a big club, arguably the 4th biggest after the big 3 Istanbul teams. And unfortunately for me, it was during COVID, so there was no fans. I didn't really witness foreign fans. So I've only ever been used to English fans, but here it's similar to Turkey. You know, the fans are passionate, and when your team are doing well, they're all over you, and it's a big thing. So I just hope that the football here keeps growing, and I'm part of it.
No doubt. As one kind of like wrap up question.
Go on.
So if there's any 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, even like a current pro watching this, and as you know, and you've mentioned, like you see all these players, they see what the pros do on Instagram, or what they post at least, and they copy them. But those guys didn't get to where they were because of those things.
No.
And it's the talent. What would you say to try and help players understand this dynamic, so that they can actually make better decisions for the rest of their career?
The first thing I'd probably say is that don't do what you've seen someone else do, first and foremost, because your body frame, body shape is completely different to someone else's. Some things that might work for you might not work for them. So that'd be the first thing, is don't see someone else's program and see that they're doing well and I need to do the same thing. That would be number 1. 2, do your research if it's actually beneficial for you properly before you start doing it, before you get yourself into a program. 3, the little things, the working hard, staying focused and all that stuff. But generally, if you're going to try and work on your body or trying to improve yourself, make sure that you're not comparing yourself with anybody else. For sure, definitely, because I went through a phase when I thought, oh, this guy's doing well, he's doing that in the gym, I need to start doing that. And that never works. That never works. I think you've got to do your research for sure and make sure that it's right for you. and try not to do a lot of heavy lifting.
Mm.
I think it doesn't matter what body frame you have. I don't think it's beneficial for a footballer, young or old.
Mm.
I think body weight stuff, working on your balance, working on your feet, working on your core is definitely the way to prolong your career or to improve or to stay injury free. But the heavy lifting, I'm sorry, but it will just make you so robotic to a point where your body will break down because it relies on these mechanical movements that you don't even do when you play football.
Yeah, getting better at those movements and getting worse at
exactly
more natural movements outside of
it's better to go out on the pitch and run if you wanted to change the direction. I've seen as well when you said about barefoot training. You know, that's brilliant. That is brilliant because we are everything. You know, I'm very spiritual. I'm a Christian, and everything comes from the feet. You know, when you see these Chinese, I've gone for acupuncture before in the past, and everything comes from the feet. You know, sometimes I was hurt on my back and they're touching your feet, they're touching me around my Achilles and things like that. It's just amazing how everything actually does come from the feet. Yeah. See, I know that through my own experiences and also from my own research, and I feel like when you start putting yourself in a situation where you're not even lifting in the right technique, and your balance is all this, and you put on these chunky shoes, chunky gym shoes that they wear. Yeah, with the heels. It's not. What's it called? You know the gym trainers that you see.
Yeah, well, you mean like the lifting shoes?
Yeah, the lifting shoes, for example.
Yeah, like with the raised heel.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel like when you start, because don't get me wrong, I went through a phase when I bought some, and I thought you're lifting in them shoes, but when you play football, you're wearing completely different shoes. So that little 1 inch or 2 inch is going to be different. So your knees are going to be thinking that I'm in these shoes, but you're not, and it might be a shock to the body. So I do feel like sometimes people get injured just because they're working out and doing the same techniques or landings in different shoes, and then your body's going to be like, oh wait, I've missed it by a centimeter. Yeah. So I just think the main thing is don't look at what someone else is doing because they're doing well. That I need to do exactly the same thing because it might not work for you.
Yeah, just think about like what is the root cause of that person's success, and think about how you can apply that to yourself. Yeah, you know,
don't think because he's in the gym 5 times a week, then I need to do the same thing, because that never works. In any job, I feel like. Yeah, and work on your qualities and work on how to improve without having to copy somebody else.
Compare yourself to your
future self.
Future self. Yeah, where like the guy that you want to be. What is he doing? Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. Brilliant, Benik. No, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was nice to have a little chat with you. You know?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's been amazing so far in Dubai, and this has been a great conversation. Episode 13. Just tell the guys where they can follow you, and also like, is there any cool things you're working on outside football? Is there anything that you want people to know about?
Yeah, away from football, I'm also a real estate investor out here. So that was one of the main reasons why I came out here. I wanted to come out here. Obviously, the football's good. I wanted to play here, and also I'm big on real estate, and I've started to buy some properties out here. And I do see a future out here after football. So hopefully, I can prolong my career by playing out here, because it's Saturday to Saturday, and then also eventually transition into real estate investing, and I've started doing that now. I get a lot of free time here, so it's working well for me. But that's what I do really: family, football, real estate. But and you know, learning about different types of things like what we just spoke about here, and maybe one day we'll be working together. So
I can't wait.
That'd be great. That would be great for me. But you can follow me on my Instagram. I only have Instagram at the moment. Benik Afobe. My first and surname together, but we'll keep in touch anyway, and hopefully we'll do some more stuff together.
Yeah, can't wait. Part 2, whatever, any kind of project you have in mind, we'll talk.
No, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, one more time.
Man, thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
All right, guys.
Talk soon. Cheers.